Yes, welcome. We are here for Ashley's Heart Song. This is the place where we get out of the stress and back into our body, our life, and our business. When we tap into the song of our heart, that is when we master the mind and the stress that steals our life. Welcome to today's show. It is all about creature comforts, finding that sweet spot between nourishment and excess. This is a topic that right now in a season that we're in really comes in handy because pardon me, we can have so many creature comforts at various times of the year. We have these creature comforts that can come in, hone in into our life, and we find that we enjoy them, and then all of a sudden they become patterns and habits that are difficult to let go of. So today I'm going to bring you hopefully some little tips and tools that you can use in order to help you receive nourishment from those creature comforts instead of excess. Excess what? Excess baggage, excess poundage, excess anything in excess around our physical body is sometimes not a good thing. So we are going to be looking at that a little more closely. What gave me this idea was when I'm preparing for this show, Luna, my sweet little American bulldog, she is in the office with me and she loves to lick, y'all. I mean, this girl, she can go to town. You know, those salt blocks that we put out in the pasture for cows to get salt in their diet? That's what I feel like when Luna starts licking on my legs. I feel like I am a salt block. And she loves this. And when we look up the reason why dogs typically lick a lot is whether they can be feeling a little bit, it's almost like a pacifier. They're feeling anxiety, or maybe they just are anxiety. This girl doesn't really feel like she's anxiety. I think hers is more, it's around security because she was deserted, so to speak. Her and her puppy siblings were found in a laundry basket in a hotel, 3 days old, umbilical cord still attached. So she probably has some issues, I would think. I would think being pulled from your mom and never being with her, that would create some things. So we're guessing that's the reason why she licks a lot, is it's for that security, it's for that connection, it's for all of that. However, after a little bit of her licking, it is not a good thing anymore. Not a good thing. It begins to rub the skin raw and it's not pleasant. So when we have these creature comforts, they can be good. And this was her creature comfort was impacting me and it wasn't feeling good after the fourth lick. It's like, okay, that's enough. And when we look at our own creature comforts that we can take on during certain times of year, certain experiences in our life, they are good for a moment. And then can become excess. It can become not a good thing. It could become debilitating. It could become anything overused is gluttony, right? And gluttony in all forms, not just food, but anything in overabundance is gluttonous. And in that, it's not healthy psychologically, emotionally, physically, on any of that realm. So, too much of a good thing isn't good for us at all. And in the case of Luna, it wasn't good for me, the one receiving it. So, we're not going to go into too much around dogs today, but I do want us to look at, and I guess I need to pause right here and just be grateful that Luna brought me such an incredible topic for the show for us to do today. So I love this so much. So I went through a time where ice cream was my creature comfort, and it became my creature comfort because of a memory that I had around ice cream when I was a little girl. Now, during this time, I was filled with anxiety. I was filled with all this fear of eating. I was afraid to eat. I was afraid to eat a lot of different foods. There was just a handful that I felt comfortable eating, and like I wasn't going to die if I did eat it. So, ice cream for me, because of the memory that I had when I was a little girl, it brought me comfort. It brought me safety. It brought me security. And maybe that's what Luna's feeling, is that licking is bringing her safety and security. Ice cream did that for me. And I did that, y'all, every night for several years. For several years, I ate ice cream every night. And what I began to realize as I was continuing this habit was my mindset was different, where in the beginning, it brought me ease, it brought me peace, it brought me pleasure, it brought me a feeling of comfort and safety. After a while, it began bringing something else. And that something else did not feel so good. It was a feeling of guilt, a feeling of, ooh, I really shouldn't be doing this anymore. It was it became a trap, and it became something that I had gotten so used to it that I began to rely on it in an unhealthy way. Too much of a good thing is not a good thing. And so today I want to dive into this a little bit more. Seeking pleasure, seeking comfort from familiar things can bring us that level of contentment, like it did me with the ice cream. These creature comforts can range from our favorite foods to cozy environments, even the presence of our pets. But the idea is that these comforts can have a profound impact on our emotional and psychological health. By offering that solace, reducing the stress, and enhancing our mood. In the realm of eating psychology, which is where I studied more about what was going on with me. I had been in the fitness arena for years, and my clients were struggling with food patterns and food issues and food moods, and I was too. So I studied in the realm of eating psychology and mind body nutrition to understand and explore just that deeper relationship that we can have between ourselves and our food choices, between ourselves and our environment, our emotional world, all of that brings those creature comforts. Food may be something that is really close to you. Maybe food is that crutch that you're using for emotional comfort as a coping mechanism, so that you don't necessarily see the deeper reason why you're doing it. That coping mechanism can hide those things from us for a long period of time, like mine did. It began to really hide it from me. But what that coping mechanism is doing is it's keeping us from really meeting the needs of ourself, that connection, the love, the fulfillment that we're needing as a human being. So the key here is for us to recognize the comforts when they're nourishing in a healthy way, but also in contributing to our well-being, but also when they become not so healthy, when they become a mask for avoiding the bigger picture. So think back in your recent past. Is there anything, any food that you're using to mask a certain experience in your life? Is there something that you're doing that's masking, that's avoiding, keeping you from dealing with those underlying issues? And if there is, then hopefully today's show will bring great insight into how you can begin to deal with that. Take action on it. If you haven't written these down, I highly suggest you write them down. write down what these creature comforts are that you think could be avoiding. Maybe some of them aren't, maybe some of them you are using in a very beneficial way. But what and which ones are not being beneficial for you? Because they are beneficial until they're not. I have had clients that have shared with me that one of their creature comforts was the morning cup of coffee. However, when I was trying to reduce the caffeine in their life, that it was absolutely not going to decaf. That was just an absolute no, that they could not go to decaf because it would not bring them that same warmth, that same comfort that the regular cup of coffee did. Super fascinating. So in that, we just work with it. Okay, what are you willing to give up? You're on 6 cups of coffee right now, of caffeinated coffee. What are you willing to do to cut that in half? Can you cut that in half? And we just slowly, very slowly change that pattern to where 1 cup of coffee feels really good to them. And that is a process. It's not an overnight fix, y'all. This thing we're working with around creature comforts is it's a process, and it takes time. Did I stop ice cream overnight? Oh no, no. That is like somebody just coming up and just ripping the hair out of your arm. It's just too painful. It's way too painful. And so we want to work with this behavior. We want to work with the reason why this creature comfort has become unbeneficial for you. And we want to replace that with a comfort that is healthy for you, and one that will not go into the unhealthy side of creature comfort. We want to adopt things that actually nourish our soul, our very soul, our mind, our heart, our emotional center, so that we're not reliant on these creature comforts of ice cream, coffee, and maybe even our pets. Our pets are our creature comforts, and we love them. We rely on them. Many rely on them to help lower their anxiety level. But if that dog was all of a sudden taken away from you, oh my gosh, what are you going to do? When we become too reliant on something to give us that comfort, to give us that safety, then we have just hindered ourselves. We've hindered our growth as a human being. And so it truly is about, let's get down to the nitty-gritty of what is creating the anxiety, what is creating the restriction, the fear, the insecurity, what's creating that? And let's work with that so that you can enjoy these creature comforts without them becoming a crutch. I know, y'all, this is really it's a process, because many, including me, have stumbled while walking through this process. And it truly is about identifying healthy nourishment. Let's explore what are forms of nourishment for you, for your soul, that enhances your daily life, that enhances your well-being. What is it that you can bring into your life for nourishment of your soul? And it's about diving in and really investigating that. Now, why is this important? It's important because, pardon me, it's important because pleasure chemistry is a real thing. Pleasure connects our mind and body together. Our brain releases endorphins, and when we experience pleasure that we're going to seek from these creature comforts, when we experience this pleasure, once that takes place within us, we have a physical reaction. Now, these pleasure chemicals, there are names for them, and I'm just going to quickly go through them. That when we have these creature comforts, there is this chemistry that is set off. And when I was in that place of ice cream, you may be thinking, okay, how did this girl eat ice cream every night for over 2 years and still maintain a healthy weight? Because I did. I didn't gain any weight during that time. Now, we could also attribute that to me being terrified to eat, so I wasn't eating as much. But still, my diet with ice cream every single night, what does that look like? And how do you not gain weight when you're doing something like that? And it truly is about this pleasure chemistry. Pleasure chemistry is so powerful, y'all. It is so powerful. So the chemicals that are being sent off, it's one of them is CCK, and it is produced in response to protein and fat in a meal. This particular chemical directly aids digestion. It stimulates the small intestine, the pancreas, the gallbladder, and the stomach. So you have activity from all your organs to really digest this food. When CCK is released in the hypothalamus, which the hypothalamus is part of the limbic brain, that it shuts down your appetite. So you're less likely to overeat because you're in this place of pleasure. Now that is pretty cool. So we love this CCK chemical that is produced by the body inside the hypothalamus. It also stimulates the sensations of pleasure in the cerebral cortex. Y'all, so your brain is actually feeling, it's triggering the sensation of pleasure that your brain will send out throughout your body, and that's why you feel all giddy and yummy, yummy, yummy. Super good. So the same chemicals that functions to metabolize the meal also tells us when it's time to finish it and to feel good about it. It's the perfect portion control mechanism we have right here. Then the neuropeptide Y is the second one. This is interesting because this tells us when to search for food, and it's usually highest in the morning. Neuropeptide Y is also elevated when we're deprived of food. So if you happen to go on a strict diet, you will have carbohydrate cravings and sweet cravings because the body is responding to the restriction by demanding pleasure and satisfaction. So the idea here is to not deprive your body, not to deprive it of those foods that you really enjoy, but to eat them with pleasure, with the pleasure chemistry, the feel goodness about it, so that you digest and assimilate that meal really, really, really efficiently and really, really well. So endorphins are also released. These are produced mostly in the brain and the digestive system. Did you know that the simple act of eating elevates and raises endorphins in your body? Endorphins stimulate fat metabolism and fat mobilization. So hence, the endorphins that I was getting from eating the ice cream, because I was remembering how it felt as a child to go and get ice cream as a family anytime we were celebrating, that was stimulating fat mobilization. So not only are we feeling good, but our body is also mobilizing fat, using fat for energy. This is the reason why these comfort foods that we have, these comfort moments, are so important for our bodies, our body-mind complex. They're important for them, and it's important for us to take hold of them. However, it's not when we overdo it. So in that pleasure mode, it will fuel our metabolism. But once we go past the pleasure and go into guilt, go into a pattern that's not beneficial, we're overdoing it on that certain food, that certain experience, then it's no longer beneficial for us. And that's when it becomes unhealthy. That's when our body begins breaking down and being more in that state of stress. So I wanted to share with you, there was a study There's been many studies on this, but one of them I want to bring to your attention to is the University of Texas did a study on participants with high cholesterol levels. They were put on a low-fat diet. However, every other day, they received a milkshake and a ham and cheese sandwich. Yum! There was no rise in blood cholesterol. None. The cholesterol raising effect of high fat was mitigated by the chemistry of pleasure. Another study proved that the nutritional value of a food is not merely given in the nutrients it contains, but it is dependent upon the synergistic factors that help us absorb those nutrients. Y'all, this is huge. So when you have these unpleasant creature comforts that you're seeing as unpleasant because you're thinking, man, why am I craving this ice cream? Why am I craving these chocolate covered bonbons? Why am I craving this? That sometimes these creature comforts can be really beneficial until they're not. So we want to keep the nutritional value in our daily dietary soulful realm. We want to maintain pleasure because of that chemistry and the benefit that it gives our body. However, when it goes past that point and it's no longer beneficial, that is when we need to be in a state of awareness. Always be in a state of awareness when you're in one of your creature comfort modes. Ask yourself, is this really healing and beneficial for me right now? Is it really? And y'all, this is that place where we've got to be honest, authentic with ourselves. Because when we are experiencing things that are stressful, when we are creating a pattern based off of the stress that is leading into these, what we call creature comforts that really are just bad habits, bad patterns, when we are relying on something outside of ourselves to make us feel better, that is when we get ourselves into trouble. So it is up to us to be in awareness, to be authentic, and to check in and honor the check-in. We've got to honor, what did we just check in about? And we've got to honor the information we were given. If we don't honor the information we're given, then we have just made our creature comfort detrimental to our very health. So in this state of awareness, what I'm talking about, what I'm sharing with you is to be in mindfulness practice every day, so that when you go to check in about these creature comforts, that you truly can be authentic and honoring of the information you're given. Whereas if we never spend any time in mindfulness, any time in stillness, any time in meditation, if we just eliminate that and we just go through our life, rush, 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 then we're never going to notice. We're never going to be in that state of awareness of what is healthy for us and what is not. So it is truly about honoring those check-ins. So I invite you to tune in, to check in, and to see what creature comforts you have going on that are beneficial, and what creature comforts do you have going on that aren't beneficial. And be honest with yourself and do something about those that aren't beneficial. And stay in that state of awareness around the ones that are, so that you can monitor them and keep them to where they are pleasurable, they are pleasure filled, so that you get that mind body benefit from the pleasure chemistry that they give off. So fun, y'all, so fun. So thank you for joining me today for Ashley's Heart Song. Join me next week as we continue to armor up our lives. I will see you then.